Hello, everyone. Really nice to see all of you here today. It's been amazing, an amazing year. And, it's been quite a ride. Can you believe like Thanksgiving and Christmas are just around the corner? I'm Loredana Niculae. I'm the CEO of NNC Services, the leading digital growth partner for B2B companies. We at NNC Services and most of our business ecosystem are adapting to the new normal and the pandemic trends that we spoke about last year. They already became mainstream. And as we'll see later on today, there's some really exciting developments in our space. Today, we have an amazing topic on the digital marketing strategies trends for next year. And together with my co-hosts and the speakers in the panel, we're going to try to bring you this outlook on what's going to happen next year, basically. I'm going to quickly introduce the topic for today and then introduce to you the first speaker. The challenges for marketers this year has been greater than the last year, and I believe that so were the opportunities. Last year, when the pandemic crisis struck, we decided to help our own business ecosystem with valuable hands-on advice and help companies on how to adapt to this very fast-changing environment. And amidst the crisis, there's always amazing opportunities. And we were able to do this webinars every month, where we shared valuable experiences from amazing guests, and we've had really good feedback from companies in our ecosystems that they have the opportunities to overcome these growth challenges, even with the pandemic crisis, just by following our social media, our channel, our content, some of these webinars, and so on. One of the most appreciated webinars last year has been the marketing strategy webinar, comprising the 2021 trends, so for this year. And it has been so good that we had people that were asking for when are we going to organize a similar webinar this year. So here it is, we're organizing it. This is the one. And this is the last webinar from this series this year, and apparently one of the ones that was most awaited for. Let's finish this year strong, and let's see how you can get some real interesting knowledge for this year. Now, what happened this year? And in what happened this year, it's a huge topic that I'm only going to try to cover for a few minutes. Then I'm going to pass it over to the amazing guests of the day. In 2021, leadership, customers, and technology take center stage on the digital marketing space. Journeys evolve as customer pandemic channel preferences persist, because last year we've seen how customers switch channels, and this year basically they persist. So the new normal is here to stay. B2C organizations have actually a more positive outlook on the company overall performance than B2B counterparts, and we will see why. But this happened across all objectives. So B2C companies and organizations and marketers are much more optimistic also about what happened this year, but also about what's going to happen next year. In this webinar, we're only going to talk about B2B, but if you want to talk about B2C, then maybe we can organize another session. Chief marketing officers started becoming very accountable on the digital initiatives as CEOs started focusing a lot on the digital growth. We are going to see how the CMO role changed to chief connecting officers, and 45% of digital marketing leaders expect the biggest challenge that was also this year to continue next year, which is to be this cross-functional partner in the company. So basically starting collaborating more and more within the company and not being responsible just for the marketing role. Some also of the trends that may be worth mentioning today are the fact that the top marketing priorities in the next 12 months for most of these marketers are to generate more leads, to increase customer satisfaction, to increase brand awareness, to close more deals. So marketing becomes responsible, actually, even in B2B, to close more deals, and we're going to see why. Out of the social media, we've seen a lot of ROI this year. In fact, channels like Facebook and Instagram are also becoming very important in B2B. And this combined with LinkedIn. In fact, last year, LinkedIn had about 80% of all the B2B leads. This year, somehow in the B2B space, Facebook and Instagram became also very important. Another aspect that's interesting here is that when it comes to how the organizations approach marketing, most place their bets this year on social media, on SEO, and on account-based marketing and content creation. Even paid ads were very much focused in terms of ABM. Even inbound was very much focused on things like SEO, right? So everything is connected, but out of everything, social media, SEO, and ABM were the most important things that were followed this year. If we go a bit further to understand what will happen in 2023, so about 3 years from now, we see that even 3 years from now, customer pandemic channel preferences persist, okay? So, and how does that translate into our day-to-day digital marketing planning and activities? Well, as part of the how the world emerges from lockdowns and major disruptions that resulted from COVID last year, marketers are moving basically from pure play customer retention strategies, right? Because last year, everybody was very focused, and even in the beginning of this year, to retain the customers, right? It was really tough. Businesses were starting to lose customers and so on. So everyone was focused in retaining customers. But right now, in the second part of this year and coming to next year's, we see how we're focused more and more in customer acquisition and growth. Again, last year, we saw marketing teams accelerating their digital transformations and working a lot to shield their digital marketing initiatives because of budget cuts. I think this will persist. So I think we will see that these budget cuts will continue, and a full return to normal, I don't think it's a given. I mean, initially, you know, everybody was hoping we're going to go back to normal and so on. People, I think this is the new normal. I think that as digital marketers, we have to learn to grow our business even with these circumstances. Also, another very important trend that we have to be careful across the next year is this increasing customer concern about how digital marketers use personal data, and especially with the cookieless world coming from Google in the next years and so on, we have to be aware as marketers to keep our audience very close, to captivate our audience. We've seen how in the digital space, there is a continued concentration of market power in a few big companies, right? How does that translate for someone that's not in Amazon or Apple or Google? Well, it translates into controlling your niche, right? Capturing the audience attention in the digital space and in other tactics of keeping your audience engaged, keeping it active, right? So this is what the big players do well. This is what small players need to understand and do well as also. So position right, own your niche, own your audience, be present for your audience on the channels that they're focused. Another interesting aspect is how the best part of embracing digital commerce and marketing analytics came also into B2B, and how because of this new, let's say, focus on digital commerce and marketing analytics, marketers actually became very resilient this year. This was lacking prior to COVID. I think this was a good addition to the marketing tool set. There are some maturing technologies and techniques such as mobile marketing analytics, multi-channel marketing hubs, social analytics, and they are here to stay. So we've acquired this over the past 2 years, and I think this will continue to stay with us. In contrast to the focus on customer retention and market penetration strategies from 2020 and even earlier this year, the balance for this year seems to shift to new customer acquisition, and as I mentioned, and this also puts a big pressure on growth, right? Things like AI for marketing, they will continue to be steady, but right now marketers are more and more focused on even implementing immature technologies just to acquire and grow their customer base. So that being said, online accounts for about 60% of the sales. And what's interesting is that the direct involvement of salespeople will decrease a lot over time. So I hope this gives you a picture of where we were and where we are headed. Now, one of the shifts that we are seeing, and we've mentioned that will persist, and just not according to us, but also according to what we see on the market, what Gartner says, and so on, is the fact that 2021 turned out to be the hardest year for marketing budgets since the Great Depression. I also included here some stats on what was 2020 like in terms of budgets, what was 2021 like in terms of budgets, as you see, and 2020 was also an adaptation much lower than the previous year. So as you see, the budgets will continue to decrease, and because of that, we invited Jessie. So Jessie will speak about what lack of resources mean for marketing, and especially I think all of us are interested to understand how we can overcome this lack of resources. Jessie is a certified productivity coach. He's a skilled marketing and business leader. I've met him and we had professional encounters through different positions. At some point, he was working for one of the largest Salesforce partners. I also saw what it meant for him to be involved and coach and consult a partner like university, and right now a partner that provides an NNC, actual customer that provides payment systems for shops around the US. But I couldn't cover in simple words his amazing professional background. He's passionate about marketing, but what I love is that he also likes to make a difference in people's lives as a coach, as a teacher, as a mentor. And I've seen him working with owners and leaders of marketing and sales. So I'm sure that he will give us an amazing insight into what lacking marketing resources means and how we can all overcome this. So, Jesse, if you'd like to maybe start.
Yes, no problem. Loredana, thank you for the kind words. I think you made me blush a little bit. So I think when we talk about resources, what I'm going to focus on today is the concept of lack of resources. Loredana talked about budgets being the lowest since the Great Recession. But when we think about resources, I think oftentimes the first thing we think about is money and people, right? Those are what we usually think about when we think about resources, but we also need to think about every other aspect of how we function and how we run our marketing departments within our company. And what I'm seeing is really a lack of people, right? That's the first part. But I'm also seeing, when I'm working with various different clients, the lack of efficiency, the lack of speed, and the lack of right tools. And I'm going to jump into each one of these into some detail. I have about 15 minutes, so I won't be able to drill into each one of these, but I'd be more than happy to discuss these offline with anybody. But when we think about lack of people, it's really around hiring and retaining top talent. When we think about efficiency, I want you to think about it from the context of marketing beyond marketing automation. Right? We always think about marketing automation and CRM and how we function, but I want you to think beyond that. And then how do we actually get work done? The lack of speed in our teams, and then obviously the reducing tool bloat. And I'll talk a little bit about what I mean around tool bloat. But the first area that I want to discuss is attracting and retaining talent. So, we've here in the US, I'm not sure if it's the same in Europe and other parts of the world, but in the US, we're having this thing that they're calling the Great Resignation. And we've seen approximately 4.3 million people quit their jobs in 2021. And marketing has not been spared with that loss. I think in the month of August, we saw over 250,000 people quit their jobs. And when I talk to recruiters and friends of mine that are in staffing companies, the four areas that are hit the most when it comes to digital marketing are digital marketing managers, experienced digital marketing managers, marketing automation specialists, SEO specialists, and UI UX designers. Now, when I talk about these four positions, there are certainly more positions out there, and we have to understand, why are people leaving? Well, the gig economy is one of the drivers. People want to do different things and work in different spaces, but people are also kind of tired of being marketers. Loredana mentioned a university that I worked at, and we had 23 marketers at the beginning of the pandemic. And by January of 2021, they had 4 people. So we went from 23 people to 4 people almost overnight. And it was because people were just trying to change their mind and do things. And many of them have gone outside of marketing and are doing things entirely different. So there's a couple different things that we can do as marketers and as leaders in organizations when overcoming the people resource constraints. Obviously, remote work has become more common and more acceptable than maybe it was in 2019 and before. But the first area that we can look at is, which many of you probably have already done, is looking at the gig workers. And that includes people in Upwork and Fiverr, and Marketer Hire is, I think, one that I've seen over the last couple of years that has offered where marketers can offer their services to organizations and they match you up, very similar to how Upwork and Fiverr does. The challenges with these resources are that it's hit or miss. You may get somebody that's great, you may get somebody that has experience, People are great at selling their experience. So it will take you time and effort to find the right people. Fiverr is a great, resource. It's affordable, and you can get somebody in Pakistan, you can get somebody in South America, and Europe as well. But again, it requires you to do a lot of the work of finding that resource. Hiring onshore agencies, there are a lot of agencies. So if you're looking at marketing automation, there are agencies within the US as well as offshore, but onshore, regardless, whether you're in the UK, Germany, or if you're in South America or even the US, there are agencies that you can work in your community that can allow you to scale your teams, add more resources without having to hire and go through the recruiting process. Offshore resources, is another great opportunity for you. Loredana mentioned, I've worked with her and her team as a fractional CMO, as a consultant for various companies, to allow their organization to come in and bring their expertise. And that's possible for a variety of different organizations. NNC is obviously one of those organizations that has that capability. And the second part is really looking at 1099 contractors with specific skill sets. And you don't have to necessarily hire them full-time, but it obviously, you can hire people, if you need a graphic designer, you need a copywriter, you need a specific copywriter. For example, in Simpay, one of the organizations that I'm currently doing work with, we were looking at financial services writers and finding writers that had very specific experience to do a newsletter or reports or other type of marketing activities that you're not going to find in your own people, and because your resources are constrained. You don't want to hire a specialist to write specifically for your marketing team. That's where you can obviously hire offshore. Gartner reported in 2021 that 29% of work is outsourced to agencies. So that number is actually up year over year because organizations are looking for ways to scale their team. The next section, actually I went one slide too fast, is efficiency beyond marketing automation. When we think of marketing automation, we always think of marketing automation tools like HubSpot, Pardot, Eloqua, and other technologies out there. But there's other ways. As your budgets are constrained, as Loredana mentioned earlier, budgets have drastically reduced. So how do we do more digital marketing activities with less resources and less budget? And there's things, for example, of doing on-demand webinars, advertising automation tools. So automating the process of when and where ads are placed. Chatbot funnels. I was actually surprised to see this number, but 63% of people prefer messaging with chatbots to communicate with brands over traditional methods. So that's over email, that's over live chat. They want to communicate with chatbots. So looking at technologies with chatbot funnels and using them throughout your digital marketing efforts is another way to engage with your audiences. Additionally, AI content creation, referral automation, and marketing automation tools are several different tools that you can use. I've given some examples of AI content creation tools and referral automation tools. These are tools that are going to really do the work for your team in an automated way, and they're going to reap the rewards of doing more with less. So you'll use technology in order to scale your team. So speed, I'm going to talk a little bit about agile marketing, and agile is not a word that's unusual for organizations, especially if you're in software development and other technology products of delivering products to market faster. However, marketing teams have been reluctant, from what I've seen, at least here in the US, to implement agile marketing. They still do very much, pick a campaign, build everything in the campaign and launch it. Rather than building it in a way where you can actually launch it to market faster and test your approach and see your results faster. That's an area that I've been working with companies all over the world on implementing agile methodology. It's an iterative approach. It increases delivery. You can do more experimentation. And the other benefit of agile is that you don't have to have it within your team. You could have resources all over the world doing different pieces when you're delivering smaller, more iterative marketing projects. So that's another area that I recommend organizations think about when we think about efficiency. We need to increase the speed of our projects, especially when our budgets are lower. And by being able to test things, I use the concept of fail fast, fail small, fail often, right? When we can fail fast, we can see what's working and what's not working, which means we can double down on the things that do work. And Agile marketing gives us that capability. The next thing is martech tools. I thought it was amazing, but the chiefmartech.com has this graphic on their website of how many martech tools were available in 2011, 150. And in 2020, there were 8,000 martech tools. This is a 5,233% growth rate over 9 years. Now, why is this important when we're talking about lack of resources? Well, if you continue to spend over and over on tools as they're needed with very little strategic approach to it, you're ultimately going to constrain your budget and you're not going to get the most out of that technology. When I worked for a university, we were doing at the beginning of the pandemic, we were trying to cut our budget, and we went through and did an inventory, and we found tools we didn't even know we were actually paying for. And it was because people were buying tools, and various people in the marketing department had credit cards, and they were putting stuff on subscriptions and they weren't actually using them. So one of the ways that I encourage people to think about is doing a martech stack audit for your organization in 2021 before we get into 2022. You can do this with your partners. If you have a partner like NNC, you can do it within your own marketing team, is to actually do an audit of all your technologies. Go through your expenses, look at all your technologies, and don't do it from a one-dimensional perspective. Do it from a multi-dimensional perspective about impact to your business, impact to your marketing budget, impact to actually your customer journey, and making sure that the technology that you are actually applying actually fits at the various different stages of your buying journey, so that you don't have gaps in your buying journey, that you can automate as many of your processes as possible, such as on-demand webinars, for example. That is one area at the top of funnel that you don't have to run live webinars. You can actually run a live webinar, record it, and then make it on demand later to actually gather people to fill out forms. They can watch it when they want to, and you can start actually nurturing them in your marketing automation tools. So it fits into that idea. So martech tools account for 26% of budgets, whereas you can see paid media is 25% and labor accounts for 25%. So having the right martech stack in 2022 is going to be essential to overcoming lack of resources. These are just some categories that I wanted to include in the presentation so that you can see the various different areas that you can think about when doing your audit: digital marketing or digital asset management, email marketing automation, customer relationship management, lead management, content management, social media. These are 8 categories when I work with clients, and when we do an inventory, we look at all these different areas to make sure that we have the right tool in the right spot for the customer journey. So just to wrap up my section so I can pass it on to the next great speaker, is overcoming lack of resources. These are the 4 different areas I recommend looking at in the end of 2021 before you jump into building out your budget in 2022 for digital marketing, is considering gig resources and agencies, offshore agencies, onshore agencies to help you scale. If you don't have a lot of marketing automation technology or experience on your team, you can actually hire an agency to help you scale and grow that. Implementing Agile marketing. Most agencies are starting to implement Agile marketing. So this is a great way that you can partner with them, investing in the right tools and investing in automation. So I appreciate your time, and I appreciate Loredana inviting me to speak today. That's all I've got today.
Thanks so much, Jesse. One question. Can we revisit? Maybe I can scroll to that slide and just a bit, because the budgeting aspect is always one of the questions that comes up. So just to revisit, what you're saying is that even this tendency will persist, and that martech will account for 26%, paid media for 25, right? So
Yes.
even in the next years. Okay, and basically labor accounted for 25%, but we don't know how things are gonna progress from here. One thing that I saw on top of the paid media, I saw a study with Gartner, I believe, that was saying that on top of this 25%, there's like 10.5% that's invested on SEO. So still, I believe that digital search is a big component, whether it is paid or organic, right?
Yes, I mean, that's always been a challenging one, and I see it across the board on pretty much everybody that I work with. They're skeptical of SEO, right? Because they see a higher return on investment with SEM and other, Facebook advertising and Instagram advertising and all the other channels that we can do advertising. And oftentimes marketing leaders and leaders of smaller businesses, they don't see the return on investment SEO, so they stop making those investments, but it is still an essential component, especially if you're going to have a content marketing strategy and you're going to be spending time to hire writers and put content out there and develop all these tools to help you pull people through the funnel. If you're not getting organic search, you're ultimately losing a channel for your business. So I think organizations definitely need to still make investments into SEO, but it's also finding the right partner in SEO. There's a lot of people out there that say they do SEO, but there's fewer people that actually do SEO really well.
Yep. That's true. Thanks for clarifying that. Again, probably we'll have a lot of questions at the end. We're going to have a Q&A session, and we're going to have a lot of questions around budget. That's why I wanted to revisit this. So, as you saw, ABM is one of the 3 strategies that are on the top of mind for any marketer this year. Thanks again, Jessie, for the amazing information you've shared. And I also saw how some of the things that you were crafting were basically related to this lack of resources, but also the attention to very focused strategy. Katya, would you mind muting yourself? Okay. Now, as we were mentioning, ABM is an important component of the strategy, and in B2B in particular, it's some of our bread and butter. So as part of how we are looking at the next year, ABM implementation is actually still in the early stages, if you can believe. And companies, even though they see it as the best way to maximize revenue generation, still most of this, and you have the stats here, most of this actually agree that they are in early stages, either with the process of implementing it or with testing what works and what doesn't and so on. So 98% agreed that of B2Bs agreed that being able to target prospects and customers throughout a tailored approach with personalized campaigns is something their organization is interested in, right? How is that possible, since ABM, we've talked so much about ABM, we've had at least 2 webinars this year around ABM, so I think that people should adopt ABM faster, especially since this pays off so well. 87% of B2Bs agreed that augmented traditional lead-based strategies with even a stronger focus on account-based strategies is the best way to maximize revenue generation, right? So out of the ones that are implementing it, almost 90% agree that this is the best way to maximize revenue generation. Again, for about 60%, ABM is still in early stages, and out of these, basically, most of them just started their journey. So they're in experimental phases or still just implementing early stage processes. 84% of B2B say that their organization needs guidance when it comes to understanding how well the overall marketing strategy is working. This is where the martech tools that Jesse was talking are so well such a good fit, because with tools you can see the ROI, you can see the KPIs, you can understand how your marketing strategies, tactics, and activities and campaigns are going. Without tools, it's very, very difficult to understand what is the impact, right? And again, there's a lot of data about, how organizations need more data. About 90% of organizations need more data for their revenue teams to understand, what marketing channels work, what how to take informed decisions, and so on. Moving on, since ABM seems to be such a big topic these days, I asked one of, I think, the most experimented people in ABM that I know, Loredana Niculae. Adi is the Senior Technical Marketing Manager for Samsung Foundry. He has an amazing career in technology with over 18 years of experience in the semiconductor and microelectronics. Very creative, high value-driven expert. But what I'd like just to share you to understand, the amount of experience he has. Last time when we spoke, he was just closing $1 billion deal, right? And we were talking about, what was the process that he was following, and it's his own methodology. And I would like to pass on the floor to him so that he can share how he does that every day. Adi, please step in.
Yeah. Thank you, Loredana.
Can you share your screen?
Yes, just give me a second.
Okay.
So, okay. Not sure whether it's possible to see it. Yeah. So, can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, great. So, I just wanted to say thank you for the introduction. I think I'm comparing with Jesse. I'm going to emphasize a little bit from the internal organization, how the internal organization can help herself. So yeah, this is great when you have outside and you have people that from the outside can help. But I think it's also very important from internal organization, how the organization and how the enterprise can set up basically the internal resources in a way that can maximize basically with the internal resources, internal marketing resources, the potential to gather brand new businesses. And so hello everybody again. I'm going to talk today about the account-based marketing, and then I'll have a quick introduction of the ABM, and then I'm going to talk about how to enter a large accounts process. Account marketing introduction. I will explain what is the ABM and how the marketing or ABM is helping basically the organization. An ABM or account key marketing is a strategic job for any enterprise done by either a marketing or a marketer, and which the organization relies on his individual market prospects, specific customers. How the marketing or ABM can help enterprises? Well, there are several ways how marketing can help the company, and I'm going to name a few of them. Identify the market, engage earlier deals, expand account portfolio, line up marketing activities with the account strategies. Complex business are always requiring account-based marketing, as he has the role of key person to grow the business, either with the existing customer accounts or prospect brand new accounts. Research shows that purchasing team are always looking for their current suppliers and likes them to keep them updated with the new relevant proposal for businesses. And for example, some UK research demonstrates that more than half of the new business looked by, for example, IT purchasing team felt, because the marketing of their suppliers was poor. So ABM is like a bridge between sales and marketing, mainly because of need to increase the sales. Marketing role comparing with previous times has also changed, so responsibility has increased. And the new marketing job role is actually requesting today to develop and bring intelligence on key accounts. And now I'm going to talk about how to enter and large accounts. People, especially salesperson, have asked me many times, how do you identify your new business, your opportunities, or your new accounts? Well, I think as a first step, marketing should know his enterprise offering as best as he can. Understanding perfectly from the internal organization what are the added values which his enterprise can offer to the market as differentiation. I think this is the key point. Having know basically the enterprise value proposition, the ABM should overlap the information about what is the current market requirements or what are the current market needs with his value proposition. You can do this exercise to any possible customer, actually. Small enterprise, medium enterprise, large enterprise, likely, or they are going to spend amount of energy when you are going to do this exercise. But a good starting point will be to start with the big fish, with a good big enterprise, where I assume the most possible higher value of the ROI. And then focus can lower gradually to medium, smaller enterprise. It's depending by situation. But what I wanted to say is the ABM can adopt basically his focus by value of the opportunity which can be generated. Now, assume ABM identifies the market opportunity, then the question is how to approach it. How much is the effort? And either can be easy approach. So your organization is like a very well established, well known, have a good reputation, or can be moderate or medium. Your organization, it's not so well known, but have already demonstrated success before. For example, you have an IT team that can be proved by some of the existing customers who can give references, etc., etc. Or difficult or hard. Your enterprise deliver great services, better solution than whatever is existing on the market, but the enterprise was mostly stealth. For example, your enterprise, it's not a public company, or previously all the address business was incubated into another enterprise, a bigger enterprise, and so it was perceived from the outside not as your services. This is most difficult situation, I think, and this is specifically to startups. Myself, I'm dealing a lot with startups, but even so, it should be taken as positive and can be considered as actually an advantage. So, for example, your enterprise can deliver excellent service to the most key company from the market, and your enterprise can understand very, very well how to work with, for example, large enterprises. And so your enterprise can offer this as your differentiation, for example, to your competitor. Last but not least, after you succeed to enter and get awarded by providing a compiling offering to you, for example, to IT services, or you provided skilled software programmers, or commercially you meet the customer expectation, etc., etc. Now the question is how to grow, how you can, as an ABM, build and grow this customer business, or to the next upper level. And here is the most, I think, exciting thing. Your target doesn't need to be a big enterprise. So big enterprise opportunities doesn't mandatory provide the most ROI, but on contrary, you can use a startup, for example. Some enterprises which can offer disruptive solution, and I want to give a quick example of Tesla and compare it with General Motors business case, which was EV1. Not sure how many of you heard about the EV1, but EV1 was the very first mass production electrical vehicle built, but actually it really didn't succeed. And this is when marketing, or ABM, comes in. He is able, based on his intelligence, to contribute, building and grow that account or that business. So ABM is returning to his enterprise or to his company, explaining what are the values, what are the benefits, and then, yeah, basically this is proposing what is the customer value proposition, and then the enterprise should consider this. Without ABM, I think this is going to be, and like I mentioned previously, this is going to be done much more difficult. And yeah.
So Adi, just to clarify, what you're saying is that basically we should have a dedicated role for ABM within the marketing department, or between marketing and sales. Exactly.
So currently the marketing role, like I mentioned already before, the traditional marketer or marketing job has been limited. Now you need a much more competent guy, like combining also a market intelligence role, as we can see in many companies, or a sales guy, or technical guy, for example. This is basically an ABM from my perspective today. It's a complete job that can do this diligent work between marketing and sales to basically enable the customer and help basically his company to increase his sales or his growth.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so actually that was my last slide for today. I want to thank you very much. It was a short presentation, but like Loredana mentioned, this is kind of the beginning of this kind of job. There are not so much, let's say, literature also that you can find it. Therefore, I think that coming with this presentation, you could find it useful for you, and so you can understand next time when you'll be asked how to tackle opportunity. Sales alone in the field will not be capable to do the same, or to the results of the sales will not be capable to do the same, or results will not be the same without having also behind a guy that can understand also the market, can understand what is the value of the company that can be provided, and so map basically this company value to the whatever market requirements are. And
yeah. How do you do the mapping, Adi? What is the process that you do to do this ABM mapping?
So mapping actually it's a wording or a kind of definition of see what's the market, evaluate what is the market, and then consider based on your company a value proposition what you can offer basically to the respective customers. And this is the ABM intelligence. Basically, he's able to digest, and this is one of the things. The second thing, the ABM should also look beyond of whatever is his company is going to offer right now, and she should think about what is going to happen, let's say, in the next 1 or 2 years, because the marketing is moving always. So you'll not be able to sell the same kind of products in the next year because the technology evolves, for example. So you should always think about to the next generation and having people aside you. So this is like a job that you have to be connected with many people. It's not like you are going to read in the book or just watch YouTube. That doesn't work like that. So you really have to work and be in the field and understand customers. Basically, the more customers you know, the better idea and better helicopter view you have about what the market needs. And I think customers are the best to collect this kind of information. Data are great. Statistics are perfect. It gives you some kind of sidebars when you do bowling, for example, and you are not a very good player. So that helps you to guide basically your activities. However, I think the whole stuff, it should come from the ABM point of view, because he is the right guy that should drive those activities.
Okay, thanks so much for sharing that. I love how we're reframing basically a whole ABM activity around a role, and I think that ABM is a key role, even separate from marketing and sales. So we're probably going to have a ton of questions at the end, but I would like to move further. So I'm not sure if you were able to stop your screen sharing, but
just did that.
Okay. I wanted to show you as an intro to the next speaker, but an outro from the ABM session, how in the next 2 to 5 years, one of the main trends going beyond 2021 is ABM platforms, right? There's a ton of tools coming on the ABM piece, but since ABM is such an important tactic, and now we've heard about how this must become a dedicated role, how the ABM platforms become mainstream. On top of this, as we mentioned earlier, AI for marketing and personalization engines will likely remain protecting in the overall marketing budgets, but given their long-term importance and sort of an incremental value at this stage, I think that this will deliver only in midterm. So I believe that in short term, we still have to go about this more ABM approach. Also, what we're noticing in these general trends, and you can check it out with the Gartner hype cycle, for example, is that marketers are showing more and more a preference for the martech stacks based on the integrated suites, right? Instead of an amalgam of best-in-breed providers. And I started asking myself, why would this happen? Why wouldn't a marketer want the best tool for, let's say, intent, okay, or the best tool for email marketing? And especially since, as we've heard earlier, marketing becomes this connector within the enterprise, right? So why would we as marketers want let's say an integrated? That is because usually integrating more systems is a big challenge, and because systems don't talk so easily between them, data is not exchanged easily and moved from one side to another, reports or dashboards are difficult to generate between different systems. And even with like big systems that have open APIs, I don't know, like HubSpot or Salesforce or things like that, it's still difficult. And this is why I actually invited Dale today to speak to you about how martech stack can be integrated with general business tools. So welcome, Dale. Dale is the head of support for Plant and App. He's an information technology professional with a history in applying innovative solutions to challenging business problems. And in his current role, he brings passion for solving these challenges that we've just talked about, and in empowering basically a easier life for marketing within the whole enterprise. So Dale, if you can maybe take the stage.
Absolutely. Hello. Thank you for that introduction. I appreciate that, and I'm glad to be speaking with you today. Let me move things out of the way here. So yeah, I wanted to take on the challenge of just talking about the integration for marketing systems, and consider a case talking about, let's see, I skipped some slides here, so let's get on track. Sorry. And so you're just talking about, you know, a tightly integrated systems and the importance of that. You know, I love Jesse's slide earlier talking about the 8 different, just all the different areas where you might have individual systems. And so just kind of dealing with the integration issue. So I just want to take a simple case where you have a marketing automation system and a business system. And if it's tightly integrated, I mean, that's your best case scenario. Things happen on one side and they're updated on the other, and your systems stay aligned. But if you have multiple systems that aren't integrated, well, then what happens? And so the scenario that I'm considering is that you've got a drip marketing campaign that results in a sale. Well, what happens next? You've entered the sale on your business system, but your marketing system is still going on with its drip marketing campaign. In a manual solution, you've got you know, the sales event is signaling the start of a manual process that somebody in the middle, a salesperson, a sales team, has to keep the systems aligned, and you end up with people being responsible for doing that kind of activity. In an automated solution, the sales event would signal the start of an automatic process, and that your integrations would be responsible for keeping them aligned. So you've got a business system, a sale happens, and your marketing automation system gets updated. Now, this is just kind of an isolated or a simplified example where you've got a one-way kind of communication between one system, but you can get into situations where you have many systems. You've got a business system, customer relationship management, financial, marketing, and they all need to talk to each other. And so you get into multi-directional communications, and the more that you need to do, you know, the more difficult it becomes to make that happen. So there's some tools that we bring to the table that, and I just kind of wanted to talk. These are generalities, but we'll see them in play in a minute. I'll do an example. But we've got automation, triggers, and actions. So an automation is some kind of a job that's enabled to act on your behalf. When something happens, then it's going to to automatically, reliably do that update. So then a trigger helps define when your automation takes over. It could be a timed thing where it checks periodically. It could be related to an event. When something happens, then let's do something else. And then the actions, what do you want to happen? What does the automation do for you? It might make an API call in an open system like HubSpot to retrieve information or change information. You could make database changes in your local business system. It might perform some notifications, send out some emails or text messages. You can even build PDF documents and send them as a response to whatever's going on. So I'm going to apply these tools to this drip marketing scenario that I mentioned. So we'll have a job that watches for sales activity and then reassign the drip marketing sequence in HubSpot. The trigger is a database change, that when an order is entered or a lead becomes a client or the status changes from inactive to an active client. And the actions we want to take have to do with making changes to HubSpot, removing a marketing sequence. Maybe you want to add a different sequence, like doing a thank you series and a welcome series to introduce your company and the product that they bought. So the slides, if you get a hold of this marketing of this presentation from today, we'll have some screenshots, but I'm going to drop out and do this live. I have a HubSpot application here, and so I have a contact, Bill Jackson, who has been assigned to a drip marketing campaign called Marketing One, and I have on another screen here this is the business system, and we can see we've got Bill Jackson there. He's linked into HubSpot with his ID, and he is in an inactive status. So when sales comes along and moves him to an active status on the business system, we want things to happen. We want HubSpot to be updated. We want people to be notified. And so just the act of changing that on my business system, if we flip back to Bill Jackson and refresh, we can see that his drip marketing campaign has been updated to a thank you and a welcome campaign. And also, if I drop over to my email and refresh, we can see that I've got an automatic notification from the business system that says that his status has changed to active and that HubSpot has been deleted. So this is a way of letting people know, hey, this automation thing happened, and he's now in the thanks and welcome campaign. Just a kind of a peek behind the scenes at what happened. The first part, of course, is analysis. What do you need to happen between systems when events happen? What do you need the automation to do? But when you've gotten that far, well, how difficult is it to actually create that kind of automation? I have an automation job here. This is the behind the scenes at a Plantin app application. And if I edit this marketing automation where we're watching the status change, what we see is that we have a trigger that is watching our contact table, looking for a change in status. And when a change in status happens, we're going to do some actions. And so the actions in this case are, we're setting up, if they're inactive, then they're going to be a Marketing One. And again, this is just a very simple example. If they're active, they're going to get into the thanks and welcome track. And so that's some setup things. And then we have these two things that one is a server request where we actually talk to HubSpot's API and pass along our security and our contact that we want updated, and we're updating the drip campaign to whatever it's been changed to be. And then the fourth and final action is where we're sending out an email. In this case, it's just very simple. I'm sending it to me to illustrate the point, but this could go to anywhere. It could be a text instead of an email, but we're providing a customized what happened, an automatic notification. The status of Bill Jackson has changed to active, and the text of the email, we could attach customized PDFs. We could attach, we could send this to whoever needs to be notified. And so that is the application of the tools that a system like Plantin app can bring to the table. There's other things, and there's other applications that this kind of integration can be used to take care of. For example, if you needed to build a more complex quoting mechanism than your tool, like HubSpot might not do advanced discounting, but you might build a tool to do the discounting and just attach it to HubSpot. So being able to integrate some kind of custom, whatever specific to your business, together with your marketing system or your CRM system. Sometimes people need to do calculators, like if it's an advanced financial transaction, and so you can build the calculator logic in a system that can then be integrated back to your marketing automation system. When you have a situation where you're using these best of breed solutions, but they're not talking to each other, being able to sit in the middle and retrieve and record those interactions into channels from the different kinds of channels into one place. The ability to generate dynamic collateral, so you can customize a PDF based on somebody's interest, the product, the person, maybe include the salesperson or the next step along their journey. You can do that dynamically. And another thing is to integrate your data directly with chatbots so that it's the chatbot is more alive, connecting with your data. In summary, integrations can provide this a reliable, cost-effective, labor-reducing way to get more value out of your marketing automation. There's a spectrum of tools available. On one end you've got built-in, on the other end you've got custom development. So if it's built-in, definitely need to investigate doing that using what you already have. Custom development can do anything, but it's expensive. We're an advocate of doing that which is in the middle, having something that can easily define an integration and provide that integration for you. Next steps, we would be happy to offer a complimentary integration planning session. And with that, I'll just mention you can shoot us a line at hello@plantanap.com, and we will be happy to do that. And with that, Loredana, I'll pass it back to you.
Thanks so much, Dale. It's been amazing. So, as usual, I have the most questions out of everybody here. For example, we've had many challenges integrating payment apps or recruitment apps with the martech stack. If I understand correctly, not only are you able to provide, let's say, standard integration between these mainstreams, let's say HubSpot or Salesforce or this kind of more well-known systems, but you can actually do integrations with custom CRMs, right? Or custom payment apps or bookkeeping apps and so on. Is that the right understanding of what your tool can provide?
Absolutely. It's a and like I say, I always like to think in terms of spectrums. Those easy ones where it's just one way and all is kind of very straightforward. But all the way, I've seen people. One of our customers have used this to integrate some very complex apps, whether it's recruiting and CRM and things like that, and actually bring in all the information from both systems and be able to iterate the changes among many systems just as they happen. So yeah, it's not just limited to specific channels and specific ones, but rather so long as the provider offers some way to connect to it, I've seen that Plantanap can bridge that gap.
Okay, thanks so much. Really appreciate it. So I can tell you for sure that there's so much need for this kind of integration, and I am personally not satisfied with integrated system that just because it's integrated, but I love to use best of breed tools for everything. So and there's even opportunities for tools that are not yet up there that need cross intelligence, right? For example, we as marketers want to know maybe lead activity from the CRM, need to know social media activity from targeted accounts, need to know how our Google Ads or analytics are performing. Bringing this into one central point, into one report, dashboard, and so on, it's absolutely vital to demonstrate ROI and to demonstrate KPIs basically on all of our campaigns and activities. So thanks so much for sharing that. I'm sure you will have also many questions, and thanks for the general offer to help people that need assistance with this. We will step further, but please ask your questions in the chat pane, and we will have a Q&A session coming up really soon. We are again closing an amazing year. It's amazing to see how marketers have done so much this year with so little, because most of the businesses that were able to do marketing in the digital space, they have seen growth. So amazing to see that with less budget, right, it was the year with the biggest budget cut since the Great Recession. Marketers in B2B were able to do such an amazing job to grow. So as chief marketing officers, as marketers, as owners of the business, we must bridge these measurement gaps. This is our next, let's say, big challenge. And we must make it clear and unambiguous that what's the connection between the marketing investments and enterprise value, right? To provide our return and to show how marketing is contributing to the overall business results. With that, I believe that we've seen how this year, 2021, helped us bridge these digital gaps, how quickly we were and smart we were about using budget efficiently to bridge the digital gaps, to quickly adopt technology, to integrate technology with our business tools, and to use tools and roles like ABM to provide real sales, big sales, and big business results. And we are ready for 2022. I'm very optimistic about next year, and I hope you also are. If you are planning your next year's strategy, if you just need help or want to brainstorm, we would love to hear from you, and we are providing a complimentary consulting session. You can use that to either brainstorm on what you can do for your business next year, what other tactics or what other tools you can use, but also to review. If you already have a strategy or plan for 2021, we would love to help you review it. Okay, so do reach out. I will ask one of my colleagues that's in the call today to share feedback questionnaire, because we would love to hear from you if the session today has been valuable, and understand directly from you if you'd like us to bring, you know, similar experiences, or if you'd like to explore new topics. And we are on to the expected Q&A session. Please fire away your questions. I've seen that already the chat pane has been really active, and I've received a lot of questions in the chat pane. Thanks so much. You can address them through the chat pane. I will start addressing the questions as you added them in the forms you filled in online, but you can also ask them right now. So these are some of the questions. One second, let's start from the beginning, that we received through the forms, through the online registration forms. So what are the 3 most important principles in marketing, no matter the trend? Oh, that's a tough one. That's mostly an academic one, I believe. Juana, would you like to take this question?
Okay. So I take the hard one, right?
If you want.
No, all right. Thank you. I would actually, the easy answer would be an inspiration from today's session, right? So ABM, marketing automation, and manage your resources. But that's the easy answer. I think the hardest one, in my opinion, is, first of all, one that is not just related to marketing. I believe we don't talk enough about marketing and sales alignment. There's been a few things that Adi has mentioned and so on, but I think it's like that elephant in the room. So I need to work more. I think we need to work more into that direction, whatever that means. If it means that we need a dedicated ABM, that, you know, is the liaison between the two or something like that, or that we need to make sure that our systems support an aligned marketing and sales. I believe this is a key. And it's universal. Second, the second most important principle, in my opinion, is to measure and adapt quickly. So it still strikes me that I see even, you know, large companies or mature companies that still don't have in place a system to actually measure the results from their marketing activities and to see what works for them, because there's no universal answer. You have to actually see what you get from the money you put into. So no matter what you are doing, what channels you are going on, you should always analyze the data, see what the results are, and adapt really quickly, because we are in a period where we are able to do that. We don't have to stick with that strategy that we built in December last year and just go like that, because things change really, really quickly. And the third most important, I would say, and it kind of relates to Jess's topic, is try to find, you know, the right people for the right roles. Again, I know this is not an easy thing to do, but always evaluating and always investing into training your people, into exposing them to new technologies. No, again, no matter what you do, this is important. Hope that helps.
Thanks so much. Thanks so much, Anna. It's been amazing. Jesse, do you want to add something?
Yeah, I loved everything that Anna said. I would add two additional things. The first one is having a very, very, very clear picture of who your ideal customer is. I can't tell you how many organizations I work with that they really don't know who their customer is. And it's like throwing darts on a wall and hoping they hit the center. And then the second part is being very clear on your customer journey. Because all these tools, all these technologies, all these things that we use, if you don't have a very clear picture of that customer journey and mapping your right messages to that stage in the journey, adding the right content, adding the right, inbound, outbound method, whatever you're using to each stage in the funnel, then you're ultimately, again, you're shooting the term, I hate using this term, but shooting fish in a barrel, right? You may hit a couple, you may not. So making sure you have a very clear picture of who and when to do the right strategies.
So I have also a comment. For me,
please,
it's very simple. It's observer, driver, enable. Observer, like a market intelligence, driver, like a sales guy, and enable, it's a marketing guy, the guy that makes things to, so it's very simple for me. There are three principles of marketing, again, observer, driver, enable. There is it. Doesn't matter business. Just you need to be focused and follow this. And then if you have these three principles, I think you are on the good path. Thank you.
Thanks so much for sharing. Second question, what are the ways to minimize the marketing expenditure of a specific company from a general perspective? Do you mean lower than this year? Because it's been kind of low as an overall expenditure. But it's a bit of a general question. I think that Jesse provided quite some interesting insights. I also believe integrating different systems is an amazing way to save from the overall budget. I'm not sure what was the specific case, the company size and so on. What I believe is that, first of all, not to cut money from where income is getting in, right? Especially in marketing, it's very important. And I know that we're fans of inbound, and I know that we're fans as marketing of building long-term strategies and so on. But from that CEO growth, high-level perspective, making sure you show revenue, you show KPIs and so on, that's one of the most important things. So don't cut those channels that produce money, and those would be all the lead acquisition channels, right? But if anybody else in the call would like to chip in on this idea, please go ahead. No, it's a bit too general. So Juana, do you want to add something?
Yeah, well, you know, always it always has to be related with your growth goals ultimately. So, and I don't see how in general a company would have some, you know, increase goals, 20% or 25 increase, and expect to achieve those goals by minimizing their marketing expenditure. So I wouldn't say that minimizing it is the solution, perhaps optimizing it, and like Loredana said very well, try to put the focus wherever you see revenue from. So always adapt into the budget as well.
Yeah, and outsourcing, again, as Jessie mentioned, maybe one of the ways to decrease the marketing spend. There have been quite a few ideas on this, but if you want to reach out with maybe more specific case to understand exactly, you know, how we can help. Best practices for demand generation. How about that? That's a really nice one. Who would like to take this question? No, not too many enthusiasts. Daniel, I'm asking my colleague Daniel because he is our demand generation specialist. So do step in.
Thank you, Loredana. I was thinking that you're gonna
put you on the spot, huh?
Yeah. Well, I will also relate to what our speakers were saying today, and especially Adrian, because for me, demand generation right now means to know the prospects I'm going at, even if it's maybe in a math way, you know, in a math method way, or if I'm contacting more. So even if I'm not doing ABM, I'm still doing ABM. to be honest, know them and make sure that you go as custom as possible. You have a lot of options right now to do that, even if you're doing an automation. Make sure you don't bother them with any redundant information, and also always pick up on the conversations that arise from these activities of demand generation. So whenever you need to reply to them or be there for them with any useful materials, make sure to do that.
And if I can add into this, because it relates to some other events and webinars we had the last weeks, don't be afraid to actually have a designated role for demand generation. Most always, you know, things in demand generation fall in between marketing and sales, or sometimes there's a salesperson who does the entire prospecting process up to closing the deal, and even the account manager afterwards. So having a dedicated role or even a department for larger companies for demand generation is, you know, the best practice. And then making sure that you are embracing automation, that you are not afraid of new techniques, things like video prospecting. I saw this year video prospecting and video messages worked really well for stepping out of the crowd, because everybody pushes LinkedIn to its maximum. So try to tap into new techniques, because this is the time you have to do it. Nobody's going to events, or we're starting to. Hopefully next year we'll have more, but always check new trends and test them.
Just one more thing, if you allow me. So I'm going to to answer the same way. The ABM, it could be the answer for this. But I think if you look what the ABM will do after that, so promotion, for example, is one of the key of the demand generation. But like Juana mentioned, this year, especially the physical promotion were kind of suffering. I think many of the companies has been moving to the digital kind of promotion environment. I can tell about, based on my experience, that that works actually, despite of the initial impression that this may not work. Yes, it works actually. Yes.
What do you name digital promotion, Adi? Because German and English are not the same. So I'm asking, what is the promotion for you?
So for me, I mean, when I say promotion, it's not like I'm going to ask someone to do some promotion where call for some companies and then to know, just your company, you as ABM can generate basically some content and distribute it over the digital environment, like over the internet. Usually promotion are done by doing physical presence, for example. And I'm talking about pure marketing guy. But since the pandemic has entered into this planet, we have to adopt. So it seems that making packages, digital package, telling to the customer what are the advantages, that works actually. It was actually much easier and safe. And coming back to the previous question, I think what was the regarding the expenses and so on. So yes, that saves a lot actually also. So there is a pros and cons always, but yes, I think this kind of best practice and digital promotion could be a very good example for demand generation.
Thanks for adding that. So in regards to demand generation, our experience has been that even digital events like this are really good for demand generation in B2B, building authority in your space, becoming known as an authority that people can address, questions or pain points and so on. That has been a really important thing. Influencer marketing has become more and more important, even in our space in B2B. We still do a lot of LinkedIn lead generation, a lot of direct engagement. Email worked really well in 2020, really good in this year as well. We're seeing a bit of a decline, but it has worked. And so let's move on. We have still so many questions. I hope you will be able to stay in after hours, because we will try to address as many of these questions as possible. So what will be the trends post-pandemic times? I think we've addressed this quite well through the webinar today. So I'm gonna move on just so that we make room for other questions. But if there are trends that we haven't covered, do let us know, and we would love to cover them maybe in other content pieces or in a different webinar. What are new marketing strategies for 3D printing sector you see fit for 2022? Most of the strategies that we've talked about this year have been can be applied to 3D printing as well. There is nothing particular that I could add in regards to specifically 3D printing. One thing that I would like to add, though, and it's not necessarily a new marketing strategy, it's a oldie but goodie. Education. I think that what we lack in terms of 3D printing is market education. Many people, although they know, like, 3D printing is mainstream already, but not too many are using it, just because they lack, this education on use cases, how easy it is to use, how cheap the technology is these days, how to basically use it in any business sector, right? So I don't think these are new marketing strategies. They are just old marketing strategies, but that could work really well. I wouldn't go after new ones. I would focus on educating my market on use cases and how easy and cheap the technology is today with a specific vertical market. But maybe, I don't know, Jesse, do you want to add something to this one?
I mean, honestly, I haven't stayed up that much onto marketing trends. I've seen, or around 3D printing, I've seen more activity on the consumer side than I have, B2C than I have on the business to business side. So, I know I've seen Coca-Cola and some mobile accessory companies use 3D printing in a way that drives, again, B2C, but I honestly haven't spent much time focusing in 3D printing.
Okay. Anybody else wants to add something here, or do we move to the next question? Okay, let's move to the next question then. With so many options, how do you build a marketing plan for a business that has tangible ROI metrics? That's again a bit of a philosophical one. If I'm not mistaken, on our website, there is quite an interesting template for a marketing plan with tangible metrics and KPIs. If any of my colleagues has it handy, do paste it in the chat window. But that's like a really simple template that you can start off with. First of all, you start, the classical way, understanding who is that key buyer persona. How do you want to position? We talked about how important it is to own your niche so that you don't compete with the big players that have all of the digital awareness and budgets to capture the audience attention and to capture the leads. So I think these are some of the basics to get you started with. On top of that, I would definitely advise you to reach out for that free consultation sessions to understand specifically your context. But if anybody else wants to add, this is like a very large scope question. I think that we will have a webinar around this just to cover it, at least basic wise.
I can go a little. So when I'm coaching with clients, one of the things that when we're going from the business plan at the business level and setting very clear objectives, and there's a variety of different ways of measuring metrics and KPIs in your organization. One way that organizations uses the OKR model, objectives and key results, and setting very clear objectives in your marketing plan, and then rolling those objectives in your marketing plan quarterly. I don't recommend looking at it long-term, again, using that agile method of quarterly projects, but setting very clear OKRs for your marketing team and making sure that that aligns to your marketing plan, which aligns to your business objectives. And that model seems to work really well for small to medium-sized organizations, but I also know many Fortune 100 organizations that are using OKRs to align to their corporate objectives and aligning those to their marketing objectives.
Thanks so much, Jesse. Really useful insight. So really interesting question. Definitely the topic for one of our next webinars, so stay close. But we're gonna move 1.5 hours into this, guys, and there's still so many questions flowing. So I guess that some of this we will start moving offline just because people need to move to other meetings. But let's see, webinars, everybody has them. How to make a difference? Well, first of all, I believe that you can make a difference by understanding who you would like to address with these webinars and really providing value. I believe a lot in trying to help, providing value, making sure that these digital events are not just a way to advertise, but a way to contribute to something. Second of all, we've seen with our webinars this cadence of doing them long term and testing different formats and different styles of this webinar. Sometimes we've done workshops, sometimes we've done panel discussions like today, testing different formats and until you see something that works. When people start asking for them, like it was the case with today's webinar, that's when you struck gold. That's my easy take on this question. There's much more in-depth information to share here, but again, we have limited time now. Jesse, Dale, do you want to add something?
I just wanted to add, we're doing a couple of webinars a week. And so first of all, just the cadence of it, as you mentioned, getting doing it and providing valuable content, new content, not just an advertising thing, but we're demonstrating particular features of our software or the ways that our clients are using it. But very engaging content, and we're doing that on one day a week as a webinar. And then we've recently started up a conversational, it's more of a meeting, but it's a drop-in and have an active discussion. So it's directly engaging our customers and being able to talk with them. And so the combination of those, just doing them regularly and then recording and posting them, it ends up building a library of content that you can refer back to. Yeah,
that's amazing. Once a week. Wow. Jesse, do you want to add something here?
Yeah, I mean, I love live webinars, but I'm a huge proponent of on-demand webinars, just because in today's day and age, especially with the pandemic over the last year and a half, people are burnt out a lot of times and they're busy in a lot of ways. So on-demand gives you the ability to scale to an audience that you may not be able to get with live. So I think there needs to be a balance between on-demand content and live content. But I know I've said this before, but aligning your webinar content to your different stages in the buying cycle, understanding your customer journey and developing content, not just about, it's the whole Simon Sinek, statement of why we do what we do, not how we do what we do, and not always making our content about how we do what we do, but also making sure that people understand the why. So building your content at all stages of the buying cycle and building funnels. Again, this is the integrated marketing and automation, building funnels that pull people down and give them access to your content, and understanding how they want to receive the content will have the most impact when you give people content. And I think, Dale, I think you said it, or maybe it was Loredana, about it's educate, not advertise. So that's another way to make sure you're making a difference with your clients or your audience.
I love it how you can do both the zoom in and the large picture view on this as a topic. So thanks for sharing that, because why we do is sometimes so much more important. And the fact that you can do even weekly webinars. I've seen lunch and learns that are done in a digital space. For example, you send a sandwich to everyone, or a morning coffee, to everyone's office or everyone's home, and then you do a lunch and learn or something. That there's so many things you can just try to make this interactive. Digital marketing strategies for food safety audits. Please reach out. We will do a one-on-one. Maybe reach out to Jesse as well. If you're from the States, I'm sure that he can help quite a bit in this space. I am putting you on spot, Jesse, but I think that it's one of those cases where you can add quite a bit of value. And we will leave that for a one-on-one. Outsourcing for lead generation, pros and cons. Jesse, I think covered some of it. Jesse, do you want to add something to the outsourcing piece?
Yeah, I mean, I have lots of experience in outsourcing for lead generation. There are, I think, more pros than cons. I think the key comes down to picking the right resource and picking the right partner. I've worked with a lot of different, I'll just use the term very generally, agencies, both onshore and offshore. I'm in North Carolina, so I've used agencies in Texas and in the New England area. And the great thing about outsourcing and using agencies to help you with lead generation is that many times you can pivot and switch the different strategies you use, and they'll have experience that you don't have because your company only has the prism of internally. Whereas if you use an agency and you work with a partner, they've got experience across multiple industries. And what you may have adjacency benefits that they've done in one market that they can bring to the table inside of your industry. So I think there are far more pros than there are cons. The cons may be if you don't find the right agency, they may not understand your market, they may not understand your geography. So finding a partner that understands your geography, your buyer persona, and your industry is hugely valuable.
Okay, thanks for sharing. I can tell you for sure that at NNC we do a lot of outsourcing for different roles in the marketing buying cycle and on B2B. Lead generation is one of the easiest, but also the most stressful one for internal teams. With a provider that is external, the pressure on the internal team decreases. Of course, it increases the pressure for the outsourcing partner. But on the other hand, usually the outsourcing partner like NLC has better processes around managing the flows and so on, which makes it easier for everyone involved. On the other hand, there are certain roles, even with lead generation, that I would not outsource. For example, ABM, I think it's a very critical role that needs to be internal with most companies, and ABM can only partially be outsourced. So I would not outsource all the ABM. Everybody knows, another question, everybody knows what the world of marketing is the world of marketing is constantly evolving. Strategies change all the time, but what part of digital marketing refuses to go away, and is it evergreen? Thank you. I think that we've covered this with the 3 principles and a bit earlier. And again, I think we will do maybe a more general webinar about, what is evergreen in marketing. So we cover this more philosophical type questions. What do you think are the top 3 things that need to be considered done in 2022 to keep a company ahead of the game? We've already discussed about this.
Hey, I was outside.
I hope, okay, it's good that we're having fun. I think that even though we have countless questions still coming up, it's a bit late in the day. We've already stayed a bit over time, and we need to close the conversations. For all of you that have addressed questions, we will address those in one-on-one, and we promise you we will spend time with each of you to answer the question and maybe give you even a bit more attention. But for today, thanks so much for spending this time with us. Thanks so much to our hosts. It's been amazing. Thanks, Adrian. Thanks, Jesse. Thank you, Dale. I'm impressed about the type of information you've shared today, and I very much appreciate you contributing to our whole business ecosystem becoming more knowledgeable about the trends for 2022. And I'm sure that we will see some amazing strategies based on the experience shares today. So Thanks so much. And looking forward to see your success for next year, guys. It's amazing. We're closing this year and we're going strong for 2022. And I'm very excited about that. So thanks again. Have a great evening and looking forward to see you soon.
Thank you.
Thank you.